by training, but has been doing a lot of interesting things both in and out of the clinical space. And he's here today to tell us his physician journey. So, Chris, great to have you on the show today.
Hey guys, thanks for having me on the show, and I'm really happy to be on here. Thanks for inviting me.
All right. And let's go to the beginning. We always want to start at the beginning. And so that's, well, why in the world did you even choose to go into medicine?
Well, I grew up in very humble circumstances, and I didn't really have a lot. My parents were first generation immigrants, so they encouraged me and my brother to pursue careers as medical doctors. The status, the prestige, career stability, income, and I grew up on the cusp of the Gen X and millennials. So back then we were operating under industrial age paradigm. So the key to success back then was to get a very stable, high paying job, career, profession. I was always good at math and science, and I was good at taking tests. So medicine was the natural progression to fulfill that career dream and path from my parents.
And so, with that, when you went into medical school, then did you find anything shocking about medical education, or were you like, "Oh, this is easy," or was there any conflict? Because sometimes the first 2 years, as compared to the last two clinical years, there's some discrepancy there. So, what were your experiences during medical school?
Yeah, I got into my first choice of medical school. I went to Baylor for medical school. I was part of the MD PhD program, and it was there. I really enjoyed my first 2 years of clinical medicine, with the basic sciences and with the clinical sciences. I was, like I said, I was good at taking tests, so it was actually a accelerated environment of undergraduate. So you basically went to class, you studied, and you got good grades. I really enjoyed the academic environment. I loved being around smart, intelligent, very motivated, hardworking individuals. But one thing I noticed was that when I went into clinicals, there's a disconnect between the actual practice of medicine and the actual learning of medicine. Part of that was part of the way our healthcare system is structured, with the insurance, with preventing malpractice, with outcomes. All of that was not taught in medical school. So I saw a lot of residents, attendings, as well as administrators and staff really not enjoy their careers because they had this extra burden of administrative duties. They always had to worry about getting sued. And it started to be more and more of a let's try and mitigate, and really ideas such as career burnout, physician depression, suicide, those were coming into the realm. The other thing I realized in medical school was that no emphasis was on finances. So the idea was that you went to medical school, you became a well-paid internist, surgeon, or hospitalist, and that was it. You had your income, but they never told you what to do with the income. How to decrease taxes, how to convert some of that earned income into passive income. None of that was taught, and the thinking back then was just take out student loan debt to finance your education, and so that was a big thing, because back then it was just like, oh, if you need money, just take out student loans. Now we're seeing the effects, and actually that's not the wisest choice to have during these days, because the cost of medical education, cost of living, etc., is increasing at a great rate. So those were the two things that I really noticed.
So you're in residency or you're in medical school, and you're kind of seeing this discrepancy between, definitely through the first 2 years, and then the practice of medicine, which tends to be a lot different than what we think.
Uh huh.
So why did you pick your residency then, or how did you pick your residency, knowing
Hmm.
this complex interplay? Because if you're looking at something with risk mitigation
Uh
and
huh.
practice, what we practice as compared to what the evidence shows, orthopedics is in a challenging spot right there. So why did you choose orthopedic surgery?
Yeah. So let me back up before that, because I did a PhD in between my basic science and clinical years as part of the MD PhD program. And that's where I did my PhD at Rice University in bioengineering. And Rice University was a hub for center for entrepreneurship, where they discovered nanotechnology, the buckyball, molecular imaging. All of these new technologies were being discovered and developed at Rice. So they had a center for entrepreneurship. So it was almost like living in San Francisco if you're like in technology. So it was very entrepreneurial. So I had 4 years of graduate school, so I had 4 years to learn about finances, investing, raising funds, real estate, stocks, and options. And I started two companies then. And by then, I was generating enough passive income on the side such that, graduating from medical school and going to residency was actually optional for me. Nevertheless, I couldn't throw away a medical education, for my parents, for my mentors, for my colleagues. And so I sought a lot of advice, and the prevailing advice was to go into residency, complete residency, do a fellowship, get board certified, and after that, you could pursue your dreams. That, that's kind of outdated advice right now. And looking back, I wish I had sought more entrepreneurship mentors. But nevertheless, I finished medical school, got into residency, and so that taught me a lot of skill sets, how the real world works, how to survive in the real world, and how to make and market yourself as a brand label. So that was one thing. The reason why I chose orthopedics was, one is I'm very I don't like nonsense, so I'm very straightforward. I like the immediacy. I like the functionality. I like getting people up and functional right then and there, and I don't like a lot of delays. So I have a very surgeon type mentality. Also, orthopedics is very high paying, it's well paying, so that's another reason why I chose that specialty. So then I got into orthopedics, but realized that it's going to be a long 6 years haul. So I had to choose between whether I would pursue my passions as an entrepreneur and start and build my brand and company, or if I would have to spend 6 years completing residency and fellowship and just be, not really pursuing my dreams and passions. And I didn't want to be at the end of my life saying I never took a chance, and that I didn't want to live my life with regret. So that's why I took a leap of faith my second year. That was the day that Lehman Brothers filed for bankruptcy. I took a leap of faith and turned in my keys, badge, and pager, set out to be a full-time entrepreneur. And that was the best decision I've ever made. And I've never looked back since. And as they say, the rest is history.
Wow. So you basically, is it 2 years into work? So I just want to understand. So you did like 2 years with the first 2 years of medical school, and then the 4 years of the PhD type work, and the last 2 years of medical school training, and then 2 years of orthopedic.
Yes. Yeah, I matched into orthopedic surgery. I didn't necessarily match into my first choice program, so that may have been part of it. But nevertheless, I got into the program. But I realized that it was gonna be. I wasn't really harnessing my skill sets or my passions, and it was better. My time was better spent pursuing my own dreams and passions. So, and I'll give you an example because. I resigned in 2008, and from 2008 to 2016, I was a full-time entrepreneur. I started investing in single families, and by 2016, I had amassed a significant financial asset such that I would never need to work for anybody, or I would never need to depend on a job, or things such as Social Security, pensions, and I could pretty much do whatever I wanted as I pleased with for the rest of my life. So
Yeah. Just for those listening, you said you invested in single families. I'm assuming single family homes.
yes,
Real estate is what you were referring to.
yes,
Right?
yes, real estate, yes.
Gotcha.
So yeah.
Yeah. So what did your family and your hemming and hawing of trying to do what you want to do, and
Uh-huh.
feeling compelled to keep people happy? Like, at what point did you finally just come to terms with things?
Yeah, so I went through a lot of turmoil and a lot of dysfunction. because at that time it was very unheard of for somebody to just jump ship and to go out and pursue their passions and their dreams. Everybody thought, something had happened, or something, and really it was just I wanted to go out and pursue my dreams. And so I actually I didn't I was estranged from my family for 2 years, even though we lived an hour away apart. And those 2 years I was doing a lot of education. I was doing a lot of investing, a lot of networking. So those 2 years I was plotting my comeback in 2016. So nevertheless, as they say, once you achieve a level of success, then people, eventually come to your side. But at that time, everybody thought I was a failure, that I had gone crazy, and that sort of thing. So, but it's very interesting when you start out something. There's going to be the naysayers, the haters, the jealous people, and the people who don't think you can do it. And then at the end, when you do make it, it's like, oh, I knew you could. I knew you could do it. Oh, I should have believed in you. That sort of thing. It's just so I really had to be more intentional and more set more boundaries, and set more be more mindful about who I associated myself with, and what sort of beliefs and ideals. Because in these days, you really have a lot more opportunities compared to in the past, where you had to follow traditional pathways. So now you have a lot of different options to succeed. Medicine is one way, but there's a lot of other ways that you can be more successful as well.
Yeah, just thinking about those 2 years where you're really kind of isolated by yourself, and I think for people listening that anytime we do a pivot in our life,
Uh-huh.
that sometimes we have support and sometimes we don't. And
Yeah.
I guess my question to you, for the benefit of others, is what helped you get through those 2 years, or what was your support, or if you didn't have support, how did you keep yourself like from totally losing it?
Yeah, those were some rough years, because but really I drew a lot of solace from books. So I read a lot of inspirational books from Steve Jobs. I read a lot about Bill Gates, Michael Dell, all of these entrepreneurs who had started from nothing and created billions, and created massive value for the entire world, and who changed the face of industry. So these were the people I looked up to, and that I admired. So that's how I did it. A lot of exercise, meditation. I also did a lot of networking. So I started networking with more entrepreneurial minded individuals, and I noticed that entrepreneurs are more they mitigate risk, and they view life as more a different journey and more options, whereas those in the medical profession view life as a straight path. So it was more just surrounding myself with the right people. My wife was very supportive as well, and but like I said, as you come to terms with yourself, you start to grow into yourself, and you start to become yourself. So
Yeah, good for you. Did you feel like you were going to be able to be successful during those times, or was there a lot of creeping doubt?
yeah, well, it was more like I was, for example, the day I turned in my keys, badge, and pager, I left the hospital, and I had palpitations, and I had shortness of breath, and it wasn't part of it was fear, but part of it was excitement, and it was also because I had taken that first step, towards reclaiming my life, and living, building a life based on my own values and core beliefs. So, I'm happy to answer questions from there as well.
Yeah,
Yeah.
what are those core beliefs? Sorry.
Yeah. So, well, one is you have to one is faith. So, a lot of times with the medical profession, we have to have concrete science, evidence, data before we can make a decision. In business, in entrepreneurship, you have to be able to deal with risk, uncertainty, and also you have to be able to execute in with incomplete data. So that takes a lot of faith. So faith in, as you view the situation as a problem to be solved, as a journey, and not something where you it's not a success or failure type mentality. So I think Carol Dweck talks about growth versus fixed mindset. So one of it is also a growth mindset. The other core belief is that everything works out in the end. So what you're going through may not, it can be stressful, it can be a lot of uncertainty, especially during this pandemic. So you have to really ask yourself, what is life trying to bring to you? What is life trying to teach you? And how can you use that and apply it so that you can grow and move forward? So that one as well. And then also just very in terms of intention. So you sort of as you break away from the herd, you'll start to see that all of us, we operate under social conditioning, which keeps us in line. We follow the law, but sometimes you have to break out of that mode of thinking so that you can come into your own and you can create the value and achieve your potential and the destiny that you were put on earth here for.
So I want to go back to 2008. You turn in your badge,
Yeah.
and you're leaving residency,
Yeah.
which is a big deal.
Yeah.
So what were you already doing, investing in single family homes at that time, or did you just charge out into the world and say, I'm going to do this? Like, that's a big step.
Yeah.
And so I'm just kind of, did you have like some sort of safety net that you were already proceeding in, or were you just like, I'm going to do this and kind of step off the cliff?
Yeah, I actually started preparing in 2000. So that 2000 was my when I first started medical school, and up to 2007 I was already preparing. I was learning about finances. I was reading books about investing. So I graduated from medical school at the age of 29, and at the age of 29 I was able to generate enough income. I was able to generate low six-figure income without needing a job. So I also had 2 investment properties, and I had a very nice portfolio of stocks. So I had that to fall back on. But like I said, in 2008, it still took a lot of a leap of faith. It's all and I describe it almost like skydiving, where everything is going to be okay, but you're standing at the on the edge of the plane, and you have to take that leap. So there's still that element of fear, uncertainty, oh my gosh, I'm leaving a very stable career for a more uncertain path and future.
Well, particularly in 2008,
Yeah.
The housing crisis, by the end of 2008, it crashed,
Uh-huh.
and the stock market bottoms out in March of 2009.
Yeah.
It's not what you call an ideal scenario. It's
Exact-
go off on your own.
Yeah, exactly.
So,
Yeah, exactly. And my viewpoint in 2008 was when everybody was running scared. The market was crashing, and real estate was crashing. My thinking was that, this is an opportunity, because at some point real estate prices are going to bottom out. At some point the stock market is going to bottom out. And so I was biding my time. I was waiting. I was researching, and I was educating myself. So I'll give you another example. Is so the current bull market that we're in started in 2009, and I got in a little bit after I think it was March of 2009, which was when the current bull market started. So like I said, for me it was more opportunity rather than risk.
Well, it looks like aside from real estate and these other investment opportunities you're talking about, there's other things you've kind of evolved your entrepreneurial self into. Do you mind going into some of these other endeavors?
Yeah, sure. So I retired in 2016, and then back then it was I took a year off to travel the world and to contemplate life. And what was the next phase. I didn't want to amass all this wealth for myself and not give back and contribute. So I decided, what's the best way to, instead of creating financial independence and freedom for myself and my family, but how to now leave a legacy. So I started my consulting company in 2017, and that encompasses healthcare IT consulting. I'm a keynote speaker. I've written 4 Amazon books. I've had my own career success program. I mentor and coach a lot of physicians, especially during this time, the pandemic. I've been coaching a lot of physicians who looking to transition and get out of the medical profession. And that's been my passion now. So I speak. Just finished keynote last week, and everything is virtual, webinar online, and that's how I contribute to leave a legacy and give back.
Well, sorry, Kevin, go ahead.
No, go ahead. No, go ahead. Sorry.
No. I was just kind of curious. It seemed like the physician consultant thing has been a more recent, at least on LinkedIn. I see you post the date for September of this year for the physician consultant out of Seattle.
Yes. Yeah. So that was actually a great consulting project. So that was a 5-week consulting project. It was with Seattle Children's Hospital, and one of my passions is in technology, but in terms of how it applies to healthcare, because I think the two biggest fields of innovation in our world today are in education and healthcare. So those are two industries where we need a lot of upgrading and modernization into the current times that we're in. So and right now what's happening is a lot of hospitals are transitioning into the digital era from the past, and that's a huge transition. So one of my passions is to help institutions transition in the most efficient, effective, and seamless way possible. And so that goes a lot with understanding how the IT infrastructure works, working with physicians, surgeons, anesthesia, nurses, both in terms of educating as well as communication and working on the systems and processes so that they can transition into the digital era.
Definitely much needed. Kevin, did you have anything else to ask? So I wanted him to share where he's at.
Yeah, so why don't you let everybody know where they can find you and what's the best way to contact you, Chris?
Sure. I'm on LinkedIn, so you can check me out. Christopher H. Liu, MD, PhD. I'm actually one of the Board Vitals top 50 MDs to follow on Instagram, so you can find me at Dr. Chris Liu, MD, PhD. My 4 books are on Amazon, and then you can reach me email at christopherliumdphd@gmail.com. But like I said, I'm on Facebook as well, so any one of those means you'll be able to reach me.
Do you mind just pitching what are the types of books that you have on Amazon?
Oh, so I have 4 books. So I recommend for introductory readers, my first book, which is my autobiography. It'll go more in depth and detail into our discussion that we had today, and that's how I quit my lucrative medical career and achieve financial freedom using real estate. And then my next 3 books are about the different income streams that I developed and created for myself. So one of them is focused on stocks and options. The third one is about consulting, and then that's been the most popular. And then I have another book on how to become a writer as well. And then I have monthly boot camp masterminds as well as upcoming workshops as well. So you can contact me to ask me about those, and they're both in consulting, writing, and public speaking. So.
Okay. And is there a website that takes you to some of those courses, or is it just directly by contacting you?
I have a. Best thing is to contact me, and I have a link, and then I'll direct them. But I also have a link tree as well that I'll send to you as well.
Yeah, send us the link tree. That'd be
Yeah,
easier.
yeah, that has everything if whatever you're interested in.
Wonderful.
Why don't you take us out there, Melissa?
I got it. All right. Well, again, very clearly stated that you can have your the horizon might seem like you're aimed at something in particular, and you get in the middle of it, you realize that there's so much more out there, and especially when you get in touch with who you are and not just what the world wants to make you out to be. And so, congrats to you for finding that avenue that fulfills your soul and makes you feel like you're excited and joyful to get up the next day and do what you love doing. So, so many great ways that you can leave a legacy. So I applaud you for that. And for those listening out there, I'm Melissa Cady with the Change Physician podcast and community with my awesome co-host, Dr. Kevin Cuccaro, and our wonderful guest, Dr. Christopher or Chris Liu, who's an MD, PhD, and has done amazing things already and still so young. So thank you so much for being with us today, Dr. Liu.
Thanks so much. I enjoyed having our time on the show, and I wish you guys the best.
Thank you so much.
Yeah.
For everyone out there, take care.
Take care.